Today I'm in the Monaro Snowy Mountains district of New South Wales, where I explore some of its towns and heritage villages, including one that can only dream of what could have been. Welcome to Dalgety, the nation's capital. Or at least that's how it was supposed to be. In 1804, a royal commission recommended the tiny hamlet of Dalgety to become the site for Australia's national capital. Surveyors had scoured parts of the country to try and find somewhere really suitable between Victoria and New South Wales, and this is where they ended up recommending. But politicians being politicians, they couldn't agree. Some people thought that it was just a little bit too close to Victoria. So finally, Parliament voted, and in 1904 they chose the alternative site, which is now where we'll find Canberra. So that decision has left Dalgety as a tiny little hamlet on the Snowy River in New South Wales. The original plan was the west bank of the Snowy River here was going to be the site of the capital of Australia. This whole area was going to be landscaped and parklands, and they had a great plan. Just didn't happen because politicians like to disagree. And in all that time, nothing's really changed, has it? This place was originally called Buckley's Crossing because the Buckley brothers used to drive their stock up from Gippsland and cross the river here. Later in the 1870s, the town was officially surveyed, and the surveyor, a gentleman called Campbell, decided to name the town after his wife's family name, Dalgety. There's not much here. There's a pub. There's no service station. I don't even think there's any shops. But it's on the Snowy River, and it's a beautiful, quiet little town.
Oh, I ain't gonna live like this no more. Most of my life's been waging war till I found peace. I could have swore what she did shook me to the core, and I ain't gonna live like that no more.
But it does have a coffee van, so that's important. Just on a little hill overlooking the town is the Our Lady Star of the Sea church from 1878. Now, I can't say I'm a religious man myself, but I do love these old country town churches because these became like the centre of the community. Back in the 1870s, it was almost unthinkable that you didn't go to church on Sunday. So churches brought everybody together, and I think in small communities, that's an incredibly good thing. Now, initially Dalgety was a place where cattlemen could herd their cows across the river just a little bit upstream here. But in 1888, this bridge was built here. It was quite a feat of engineering in its day. So Dalgety didn't quite make it to national glory as the capital, but it still has something to offer. It's got some lovely little heritage buildings, and it's got the Snowy River. Next, as I explore the Monaro Snowy Mountains region, I've come to the little town of Mittabel. It used to be known as Mittybell, and it has an elephant statue. Why? I don't know. But I've just met Will. Maybe he can shed some light on this. Hey Will, why is there an elephant here?
Yeah, greeting punters. Elephants here because the previous owners used to holiday in Bali, and they thought it might be a good idea to spend a bit of money and reduce their tax bill. So they bought this thing over, I don't know the year. They put it on a low load and they drove it around Sydney for a week or two with the banner underneath at Nimittabel Bakery as a promo. And he landed here. He's 11 tonnes of concrete. He's an African elephant dressed in Balinese clobber, and he's a bloody beauty. We've often thought about taking him down, but there would be an absolute uproar if we did, so he's got to stay. And his name is George the elephant. And he's named George because that was the original baker of the Nimittabel Baker many years ago.
So there, now you know. And if you're coming through town, I reckon everybody stops at the bakery here, and I don't blame them. I just had a pie, it was great. But elephants isn't really what the town's known for. It's a beautiful little heritage village up in the Monaro Snowy Mountain country, and it's on I think it's the Monaro Highway, so it's always been a bit of a stop-off point. This town was established in about the 1840s, and it's a cute little town on the highway. The Royal Hotel behind me used to be the old Cobb & Co station from the 1850s. This hotel was used in the film The Sundowners in the 1960s with Robert Mitchum, Deborah Kerr and Peter Ustinov. This is the Nimity Bell. It was put here in about 2015. It's supposedly to symbolise the transition of the town from a sawmill town to a tourist town. It's from the 1920s, and it was imported from Michigan, USA. This is the house of settler John Geldmacher from 1863. These days it's open as a little information centre. You can wander in and there's little bits and pieces about the town. Now Geldmacher was a miller, and this behind me is what's left of his mill. Now this was built through the 1860s and 1870s. Trouble is, when it was finished, he was told he couldn't use it because it was too close to the road, and it was thought that the shadow of the windmill would scare the horses. And not to be denied, he simply took the wooden wings off and converted the mill to use horsepower. And it operated successfully for quite a number of years, and locals said he produced really lovely fine flour. I love these old heritage towns. There's always so many stories in them. You just got to dig a little bit. And you know, Nimittabel was an important town on the highway because even though it's tiny, it has 2 hotels. This is the Pioneer Cemetery here in town. The earliest marked grave is a fellow called James Noakes, who died in 1842. But there's something else that's quite unique about this cemetery. This is the grave of Gekas Bulgaris, who was the first Greek settler in Australia. He didn't come here by choice though. He arrived in Port Jackson in 1829 on the convict ship Norfolk. Him and a bunch of his mates were found guilty of piracy in the Mediterranean and sentenced to deportation to Australia. He was pardoned in 1836, and while most of his Greek friends went back to Greece, he decided to stay. He stayed here and he married an Irish lass, and he raised a family here in Australia and was the first Greek immigrant to Australia. The Midderbels are a really cool and interesting tiny little village. It is tiny, like basically blink and you'll miss it, but it's worth stopping off here, just having a little snoop around and delving into some of the history and the stories that are here in this tiny little village. By contrast, the town of Jindabyne's much more modern. That's because the original town is somewhere under this. This is Lake Jindabyne. So this valley was flooded in the 1960s when the dam was built as part of the Snowy Mountains scheme. But before it was flooded, they moved the town literally just up the hill to where Jindabyne now is. Jindabyne's a popular tourist destination all year round. In winter it gets really busy because it's the nearest town to the ski fields up in Thredbo. But in summer people come here for fishing and boating and hiking. So it still gets busy no matter what time of year you come here. But it's bloody cold, mate. It's the middle of summer and I'm wearing a jumper because it's about 10 degrees. That's because it's about 1,000 meters above sea level, so it gets cold. There is a visitors information centre here where you can get some information obviously and pay for your park fees and all those sort of things. And plenty of shops that are catering to hikers, skiers, snowboarders, mountain bike riders, everybody that's going to really enjoy what's around in this area in the natural environment. And this is why the lake was formed. It's the Snowy River Dam that was built in 1964. It's all part of the Snowy Mountains scheme, which helps to generate electricity to the major cities in Australia. Well, I've had a lovely time up here in the high country alongside the Snowy River. It's been really relaxing. If you're up this way, stop at those little villages. They're fascinating. Stop and poke around and learn a little bit of the history and the character of these places. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. You fly. Next. Wait for the trucks to go by. This town was established in about the 1840s and I don't even know what to say. He didn't come here by choice. He arrived at Port Jackson in I forget, damn.
But I ain't gonna live like this no more. I've been drinking till my body's sore. Ain't touched my bed, just sleep on the floor. But I'ma get on my feet, get on my chores, get some things from the getting store. This old ship's coming back to shore, 'cause I ain't gonna live like this no more.